Getting beat up by spreadsheets in your brewery? Don't let those dumb pivot tables bully you around. Get rid of the software and get Ollie, the smart and affordable way to manage your brewery. Learn more at getollie.com.
Hey everybody, and welcome to day 2 of our CBP Fall 2025 virtual conference. You are tuned into Would You Do It Again? Stories and takeaways. Big thanks to all of our speakers in both TapWyse and Ollie for helping keep our virtual conferences 100% free. Every big decision comes with lessons. Some of you are glad you learned, and some others you wish you could have avoided. In this panel, you're about to hear from brewery owners about the moves they have made, from expansions to new revenue streams to tough calls that change the direction of their business. We're going to hear what worked, what did not work, and what they may do differently so you can make smarter moves in your own business. But first, let's meet our guest. And Mike, all the way out in Idaho, you get to go first.
Hey, good morning. Mike Garcia. Came from the world of commercial banking, where I served at an executive level, food and beverage manufacturing, including brewery financing. Honestly, got a little wore out of wearing a suit and gave up that rat race. And now operator of Loose Screw Beer Co. out of Marin, Idaho, a community-driven taproom brand with 2 locations.
Appreciate you being here, Mike. Tyler, your turn.
Oh, hey, I'm Tyler Forbes with Burzurk Brewing Company out of Grand Haven, Michigan. And basically, I had a previous life of automotive engineering for about 33 years and did a little corporate life for a long time. We started this business on the side. We've been in business now about 5 years about that, but things have been going really well. We turned this into our full-time gig and really been enjoying it. We're a small brewery, about 500 barrels a year with some distro, and right now just beer, no spirits and things like that here.
Always great to see you, Tyler.
Yep.
Nicole, good to see you. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself who they may not be familiar.
All right. Hi, everyone. Nicole Carrier. I own Throwback Brewery. We are in Northampton, New Hampshire, so right on the seacoast. We started as one of the first little tiny nano breweries in the state. That was about 14 and a half years ago. 4 years in business, we moved to a big farm, and now I have a restaurant, brewery, and a farm. Lots to talk about there, but that's who we are.
Thanks for being here. Ben, your turn.
My name is Ben Acord. I'm with Mucho, Aloha Brewhouse. We're a small brew pub out in Kauai, middle of the ocean, so it provides a whole host of what I would encounter. So definitely learned a lot out here.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, Ben. Now, I've got a question for the group as a whole before we kind of dive into some more things about your individual experiences. But thinking back over your journeys, what's one major decision you've made that really shaped your business? Oh, Nicole, it's all you. Great. Yes.
Yeah. Sure. So I mentioned, we started as a little tiny nano brewery. We had a 3-barrel system. And then we purchased this large farm property, our fourth. I could talk about that in more detail, but my co-founder, Annette, and I had never worked in a restaurant. We'd never washed dishes. We weren't servers. And we just took this huge leap. And in fact, we thought, Annette jokingly bought me a panini press, and I thought I would be making some food. But fast forward, 10 years we've had the restaurant, and it's 45% of our revenue is now food, all the other kinds of stuff. So to me, opening the restaurant was the biggest thing that absolutely changed the direction of who we are and how we actually make our money.
Is there anything you would do different with regards to the restaurant?
Oh God, there are so well. The one great thing we did was we hired a restaurant consultant, and the other great thing that we did is we hired one of the best chefs that we knew. She was working for an amazing restaurant in Portsmouth that's been James Beard nominated 6 times. So she really knew what she was doing. She's still our head chef today. So those are the 2 decisions that we did. And looking back, would I recommend anyone open a restaurant? I think we all know how hard restaurants are to run, right? And the margins aren't great. However, that being said, given what's happening in the beer industry now and the trends with people drinking less, I would not change a thing. People often come to a brewery to try beer, right? And I always say, like, our beer is great, right? Don't get me wrong. Like, people come here to try the beer, but they come back and back again because our food is so good. So that's would not
I
change
love that.
that
And thanks for sharing. Who's next? What's a decision that has kind of shaped your business for better or worse?
I'll jump in. I think something that's really helped. Metro market of or sub-market of Boise. We got about 130,000 people, but still it feels really small here. So we do a lot of things within the community. I serve on a couple different boards. We serve a lot of nonprofits through pint nights, roundup, camp love, supporting or at least teaming up and collaborative efforts with other like-minded businesses with big audiences. So anything we can do, whether it's nonprofit related or with other businesses here in our community, we've really seen that.
With regards to these partnerships, Mike, how do you make sure there is success for all parties?
Yeah, it's trying to be anything we can do. We do a lot of different events. Like Andrew and I were talking a little bit ago about big fresh hop festival that we're getting ready to host here in a couple weeks. And so it's working with those local hop farmers, the hop committee. What I really like about that is it allows us to expand our audience to those folks and get our name out there, especially since we're still so new.
Great. Thanks for sharing, Mike. Ben, go ahead.
So from us, since we're out here in the middle of the ocean trying to find ways to save money, one of the biggest things that we did that was probably been the single best was, this isn't an ad, but using Mueller-style serving tanks, the bladder system tanks, because they've helped us cut on premise, so we capture 100% of the profits, which is pretty awesome. The bartenders, not relying on them to change kegs, it's eliminated that. For me to hook up get a new beer on tap, it takes like a bladder in there. I don't have to use chemicals. The purging of tanks, it just is super quick and easy. A 50-pound tank of CO2 over here costs $220 to $280. So not having to do that is just awesome. It does have its issues here and there with like the setup, so making sure we got someone good to do it will make a huge difference. And then they're just not meant for this humid weather, but how they've simplified the bar operation is absolutely awesome.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing all of that. Tyler, tell us something.
So yeah, you guys hit on a lot of good ones already, but I'll feed a little bit on Nicole's as sort of a bad twist to it. Is just would be to make sure that you try to plan for some form of food right up front. We did not initially. We thought we were getting approved for some food, some cold food options and some other things, but we just didn't get approved. Our Ottawa County Health we didn't do it right. I like that Nicole said she brought in someone counsel basically on the food options. And I wish trucks 3 to 4 nights a week, and we know right now that when there's a food truck here, we sell 25% more beer sales. So you have to have a food option right up front. If you're going to open a brewery or you have a current brewery, adding that food option, I know it sounds like a pain, but it's almost a necessity these days to stay in competition with the local dive bars. Most of your dive bars have food options. If you want to stay competitive with all your local restaurants and other places that have that food, you got to have at least a simple food option of some sort. We actually bought a food truck, and we were going to run it as sort of our food area, using our building space, which is a whole nother issue. We weren't able to put a full kitchen in or put even a small kitchen in, so we were going to get a food truck of our own, and the food story behind that is a whole other issue. But we built we had a food truck being built in the middle of it, so we lost all of our money on the food truck. So that's a whole other issue. But yeah, plan for food right up front. We're now going back again and trying to figure out how we can put a small kitchen, at least cold sandwiches, things like that, and do maybe some during the nicer weather, doing us some grilling or something outside because we can't install a hood indoors. So
I couldn't agree more. Food is arguably mandatory at this point in time.
Yeah.
So I'm going to skip to a question, Ben, that I had for you later, but now is an appropriate time. What are your thoughts on doing the food program yourself?
It's kind of like, man, I'm jealous of Nicole. That's for sure. She had a great experience. But like, we have a restaurant here, we're a brew pub, and I can tell you it has been a massive obstacle and provided a lot of headaches. Most of it being just dealing with back of house labor. The labor is full of drama, and that literally it will dictate the way my day goes. I mean, I'm supposed to be brewing beer, and I can't tell you how many times I've had to run food, wash dishes, go to Costco, Cisco, and the brew day just gets kicked down the road. You have to have a food option. But one thing, like out here, I'm seeing a lot of other breweries, what they do is they have those food truck options, or what you have some of these other breweries do, and they are not stressed out of their mind, is they build in their location a kitchen that they can either lease out to somebody to come in and run it. You take the restaurant professional, give them that portion, and then you have your food, or you can, and you don't have to necessarily worry about it. And that's probably what I think would be the best, because they're also using it as a commissary kitchen for food trucks, so they can actually get a little extra income that way. But then they just don't have to deal with that day-to-day stress of running a restaurant. If you open a brewery, you want to run a brewery, not necessarily spend 60% of your time managing a restaurant.
So you would essentially say lease out your restaurant space to a company who has expertise in that side?
Yeah, or build a spot to where you can have them come in, or build a really cool like beer garden style where you could bring in a couple food trucks and have options there, but not just try to make it more inviting and create an experience for the guests. If you can avoid just having trucks on the side of the road, something that is more of that, experience for them.
Good share there, Ben.
Sorry, just to add to Ben a little bit there. Our biggest issue with food trucks has always been, one is Michigan gets cold. And so food trucks are always seasonal. Most of them can't operate in the cold because of freezing pipes, things like that. So that the problem there is, not only do you stack that on top of our seasonality already with the summers where we're already really busy, and then we're really great with the food trucks. Then that's an extra big dump that we experience in the winter because we don't have that food option, and everything slows down because of the visitation and all the summer, tourism and stuff. So, but the food truck option, I totally agree. It's and plus we have a lot of cancellations. We've been running food trucks now for 5 years here at this location. No one wants to come Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Everybody wants Friday, Saturday. Trucks will call and cancel last minute because they accidentally double booked. You've already advertised it. People were excited. We're going to come. Now you got to quick get out of cancellation. It can be a real pain, and that's why we're looking now to move away from it a little bit more. We're headed into our winter season where right now we're lucky if we have 1 or 2 trucks a week, 1 or 2 days a week. And so that really hurts us.
Good luck with that, Tyler.
Yeah.
I think the thing about food is there's headaches, like no matter what direction you pick, right? So like, yeah, but I agree with you, like back of house, labor, increasingly expensive, more drama than front of house a lot of times. But like, if you actually get the right team, to me, I prefer having things in my control. Like I've seen recently in New Hampshire, a couple of these like partnerships that people built kitchens and then they had someone else outsource the food. It's like erupted into these like public spats about like, you did this, you do that, right? So it's, if you don't pick the right partner, if something happens, that can blow up in your face as well. So I think there's pros and cons to every approach here. And unfortunately, I don't think there's like, hey, this is the right way to do it. I think you just have to figure out like, what do you want to do as a business owner? What kind of risks do you want to take and what you're comfortable with?
I think we could all agree that bringing food in is going to increase the beer sales. That's about, but then how from the trip from point A to point B is going to be a little different for everybody and how that works out. But food is a necessary evil.
Yeah, definitely.
If you were to start with a restaurant and you wanted to have one or a food option and you're going to own it, I would say, just in our experience, start small, have a menu that 1 to 2 people can successfully do themselves. And so you're not having to depend on this entire team of people to do it. And then you can always add stuff on, but if you start taking food off, you get your regulars lose their mind.
So I've got another topic we're going to dive into, and that's going to be part of this conversation. We're going to bounce around quite a bit because there's lots of lessons to be learned. So, Nicole, you've taken some big swings. As you just mentioned, you've opened a restaurant without any prior restaurant experience. You've invested in an event space, and you even once hosted Vice President Harris. Which of those decisions challenged you the most, and why? Or whichever one you feel like sharing today as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, for the restaurant, without a doubt, like hands down, was the most challenging. God, I don't want to ever go back to those first couple of years. It was just so much work and so much learning. It was like drinking from a fire hose. But that has had the most impact on our business. I sort of talked about that. Some of the other things, I don't know, the whole hosting the vice president.
How did this even happen? Like, talk to us what came of it.
The vice president was coming to New Hampshire and they were scouting locations. And we were selected as a location just to be this beautiful farmhouse. It's like iconic New Hampshire, right? Like all the vision people are like, oh, I love your barn. We can hang flags off of it, right? So, and she was doing a talk on small businesses. They were a women-owned business. So a lot of things aligned. And we thought, sure, why not? And we knew there would be hate. We weren't really expecting sort of the level of vitriol, like the 1-star reviews coming in from like across the country the second that it was announced, right? And a lot of my colleagues here that own other breweries are like, you are absolutely batshit crazy for doing this, right? And I suppose we were, but like and it was the 2 weeks around it with all of like being in the news all across the world and all this other kind of stuff, and the people sending all the mean emails and telling us all these awful things, like just getting through that. What it actually did was it sort of made our core customer base embrace us more, because our message was, listen, this is not about politics. This is about like, I think a lot of us are like closer in ideology than we think we are, in like building community. And it just made our community want to support us more for, giving, for hosting the vice president. So I think at the end of the day, like we had never had a more profitable September and October. And I think it was sort of the after effects of that decision.
So I'll ask the question.
Yeah.
Would you do it again?
I would absolutely do it again for a couple of reasons. One was, honestly, if you ever have someone that high up, like want to come visit you, just watching the Secret Service in and of itself is like so incredibly cool. Like those guys, what they do is absolutely incredible. But I think, sometimes it's okay to take those big swings. And I think if we're pretty clear on our values and like openness and kindness and community and all this other kind of stuff. And I think if you do something that's in alignment with your values and people know what your values are, they're going to support you. So I think if we did something completely different, they'd be like, what do you guys do?
Yeah, it has to align. I think that's something, the whole situation.
Yeah.
So Mike, I've gotten to know you quite a bit over the past couple of years. And in that time period, you opened a second tap room. What have you experienced, good or bad, different or the same, since opening that second tap room, and how has it impacted your original?
Yeah, we're just a little over 10 months into the new location. New location's been really successful. We're pushing, I'd say annualized, we should be right around 500 barrels of beer retail out of our new location in downtown Meridian. So again, we're really happy with the direction that the new spot has gone. However, it has had some detrimental effects on our other location, also in Meridian. We felt, hey, it's a few miles apart. We're going to cannibalize a little bit because of the location vicinity, but we really tried to make efforts towards creating a different vibe and feel across both tap rooms. We even have separate logos, still the same company name, but separate logos, color schemes, merch. At our older location, we really lean into, because it's surrounded by single family homes, we really lean into, that kind of family atmosphere. So we've got like free arcade games, bingo nights, and other family friendly activities. It kind of created more of a community hangout, where our new location definitely attracts from surrounding cities and neighboring areas, and people coming in from outside the area to vacation. So we really felt like we'll build back some of that cannibalization, and it would balance out. But honestly, it hasn't built back the way we felt it would. So we're right now continually making adjustments, specials, and different events to hopefully build back some of that revenue that we were seeing at our older tap room. But everybody wants to come hang out at the new spot. So we're still trying to figure that out. It's very fluid right now.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Now, Ben, let's talk a little about your thoughts on choosing a location. What's your best advice for someone choosing their space?
Parking. If you have customers, you got to have parking.
Yeah.
Unless you're in like New York City or something where cars just really aren't a thing, and the public transit works well. You got to really think about where your customer is going to go. And we're in a really high tourist area, a small little town, but it is one of the biggest tourist destinations on the island. So what happens when everyone comes here to go cruise and just around the area is that all the parking spots are full, and they're checking out everything. They're not there just to check out us. And so the area gets saturated with cars, and there's just literally no more parking for people to come. And so your sales cap out and you're done. So it's like we've kind of figured out what our spot is, what we make for the day based off of the time of the year it is and how much parking is available. Because how far are people willing to walk for your beer, your food? If they have to walk past 5 to 10 other restaurants in a 2 to 3 block area, are they going to do that? People are creatures of habit and convenience. So you got to think about that. What other places are they going to come by? Or, is it going to be a traditional sit down, fine dining restaurant, or sports bar? Can you provide them an experience that they'll want to come to and walk that distance to get to? So more casual, relaxed atmosphere where people can come chill and hang out. Then if it's something different that no one else is offering, then you gotta give yourself a shot.
Now, Ben, I want to pick your brain a little bit more. You talked about finding the location, but now once you have that location and you're building out, what do you recommend for others with regard to just that basic setup? Any mistakes that you made when you were, building out that others can learn from?
Signage is huge. Making sure you've got really good signage at all the spots you can. And, if you have neighbors who got available areas you could put signs on, talk to them, see if you can paint a mural on their wall or put signage up there or something, use their rooftop. We did that after the fact. It definitely helps when people know where they can find you. And just having good photos online. If people Google brewery, what are they going to get? And so they can see where you're at and not necessarily a pin on the map, so they know what they're looking for.
Awesome. Thanks. So for everyone else here, you all have either built breweries or run a brewery now. What's a mistake you've made with regard to the design that you would do a little bit differently?
I'll go real quick. One of my big issues that I brought up with you earlier, and I mentioned a little bit earlier, is the buying versus leasing the building. We had our building is a lease. We didn't know for sure how the business was going to go, and of course, getting in up front, you're not going to go invest $500,000 or $1 million in your own building, perhaps, depending on where you're at and what it's going to cost you, and just to get in and see how it was going to go. And we figured we could always later on, move and or buy our own space if it took off. But and so it was an easy entrance, low cost option for us to lease a space. But the problem then therein lies is that now you have obviously you have a contract for a certain amount of time there with your lease, but also now you've built out that space into what you've made it into, and you've sunk a lot of costs that now if you go anywhere else, you're gonna have to do again. So we're gonna have to, at some point here, we've got a 10-year lease on the space or an option lease on the space we're in now, and it was just a tube of a building. So we got into it pretty cheaply and built it out pretty cheaply because we did most of it ourselves. But it's the other issues are usually in your lease, the building owner and or any other tenants near your building might have some say in what you can and can't do outside of your building. So for instance, we can't put anything up in front of our building. We can't change the outside or the face of it. So we couldn't really customize it much. We have a small patio space out there, and that's very, very temporary looking. We can't make anything more permanent. So that's really detracted from our patio space. So there's a lot of limitations when you lease a space. Not saying it's the wrong thing to do. It might be the right thing to do for your business case at the time, but just make sure you've got some freedom to do the things you need to do in order to advertise your business or to put the things up that represent you and your business out front or inside or whatever the limitations may have been in your lease. Make sure you read it well, because I didn't know what we didn't know, and then we got challenged by the building owner. We had to remove a bunch of stuff we had put cost into already for our patio space.
Good tips there. Now, Mike and Nicole, any design lessons learned? You're both nodding your heads on this one.
Yeah, based on our current our older location, we're in a strip center. We've got 4 walls. There's no ability to do any kind of private event space. We're subject to the other tenants surrounding us. A lot of the things that were mentioned earlier and kind of detrimental factors to that location. So we knew, going into our new location that, we searched everywhere, and it had to check a number of boxes for us. One, the new space did have to have production space for it. Large tap room, large beer garden, private event space again was a huge high visibility and walkability from pedestrians. And the big thing that was mentioned earlier is parking. So, we were able to check all those boxes with our new location. Needed a ton of work, 10,000 square foot, building that was not meant to be a brewery whatsoever. We completely transformed it into, an elevated brewery experience. Project, turned out, amazing. But I think a lot of the factors that we learned from was, from our original location, and having a standalone building with all those factors that I mentioned has really made it be successful compared to where our older location was.
Thanks for sharing it. And Nicole?
Yeah, we purchased a 1860s sheep barn that we had to completely renovate. So we ended up putting a ton of money into it. In retrospect, would I have something with this much overhead? Probably not. But then at the other end of the day, we sort of look at, well, it's sort of like this big 401k that we're like putting money into, and at the end of the day, you're going to have a property that has a tremendous amount of value. But in terms of like this space, it's just like little by little every year we like do stuff, right? Like year 1 at the farm, we didn't know we'd be making this much food. So we actually had to build another prep kitchen, right? So there's things like expanding parking. We added an event space. There's all these things we've done. And again, it's sort of making the property more valuable. So at the end of the day, if there is an exit, we have a nice piece of property that's worth a fair amount of money.
So Nicole, you invested pretty strong in that event space. Was it worth it?
Yeah. Yes, it was worth it. We, back in COVID, we did take an idle loan, pretty large one. We decided to spend that on a 60-person event space / overflow seating, so that we have a huge beer garden, right? And we're in New Hampshire. And so when it's cold, like obviously we lose a whole bunch of space. We lose like 100+ seats. And so on the weekends, the space is perfect for just overflow seating. But like, Tyler, you mentioned seasonality, right? Like we're so seasonal. Our business, January is like here, and then August is crazy. And it's just this every year, it's this huge like curve. Oh, here we go. And then down again. And we thought that if we built an event space that we, it's never going to be like this, our revenue, but if we could make it so the dips are less, right, it would be worth it. And that's exactly what happened. Is we're able to do a lot more community events, more private events that make those dips way less aggressive.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Give us a shout out to like, what's one of the most successful events you've done that you took a risk on?
Oh gosh, we've done so many different fun things. Like Well, to me, like doing an event is kind of low risk because we feel like, all right, we'll try it. If it doesn't work, we'll like tweak it and do something else, right? So we've done everything. We did like a puzzle competition, which sounds so silly, but like it sold out like that, and it's like you like wrap up a puzzle and have people like go and they put together like just like a jigsaw puzzle. It's crazy, but that brought so many people in. Everything from like blind IPA testings we've done in the past. We've done bonsai events. We do every month we have cribbage, we have book club. So there's certain yoga every Sunday. So there's certain things that we do all the time. And then we do these random community events that have done really well for us.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. So most of the conversation we've had so far is things that you tried or took a chance on that actually worked. Now I'd love to hear something big or small, something that you all tried that you would not do again. Who wants to? Oh, Ben, is that a hand raise? I don't want to call on you. Yeah, let's do it.
I would say one of the things that you never want to do is if you ask someone during your build out, oh, this is what I need done. And these words come out of their mouth. Well, I've never done that, but I'm pretty sure I could give it a shot. And this is like a professional. This isn't your neighbor, your buddy. This is someone you're going to pay a lot of money to do a job that they're not sure if they can actually do. Find the right person to do the job from the very beginning. And you need floor drains that actually drain. We've had some issues with ours and glycol from people just giving it a shot, and it made life very difficult.
I think that's very good advice there. Thanks, Ben. The rest of you, everything you've worked has, been fantastic. All rainbows and butterflies and all the fun stuff.
No, not at all. I already hit on one on here with the building leasing thing. I don't know that I've got another great negative one besides the. I've got another positive one. Sorry, I'll wait. I'll hold that one.
Well, that's fine. So now I want to dive into what's working with regards to keeping guests coming back and staying longer. We talked about food, private events, maybe some beyond beer options. What's something that you're doing in your tap room that's getting guests, one, spending more money, but also hanging out longer? Anything we haven't discussed today that you'd like to throw out on that one?
That was my one positive one. I sort of maybe you.
Yeah, there we go, Tyler. It's your turn.
So it's I'm all about we're all about the beyond beer stuff right now, and I'm a member of the Brewers Association, the technical committee, and we've talked a lot lately in the last year or two about beyond beer options. And what that basically means that you're a brewery, but your state may allow overlapping manufacturing licenses for your tap room. So I know a lot of people will carry a wine of some sort or something, or they make a wine to carry, or they make a cider to carry a cider also, but then they tend to focus on beer, if you're a brewery, or maybe you spread it between all three, I don't know. But then also now, the other option is spirits too, hard seltzers, everything you can think of that's just beer. I think that the beyond beer thing is huge, and it's a big option. And I always tell everyone to push it as much as you can, to do whatever you can do to get everything that's beyond just beer into your tap room. Because if you picture a group of 4 people, if they find parking, right, Ben? If they find parking and they're going to walk to you 4 people, if they got to pass another bar on their way and there's one cocktail drinker in that group, even if 3 of those people are Mug Club members at your location, they're going to go to the place that one guy can get a cocktail. So if you don't have that option, that odd person in that group wants, or if they're not, or they're just not going to come here and they'll be, okay, fine, I'll go there, I'll find something to drink, but then let's go here so I can, so they're going to leave, some point, potentially sooner, so everything you can do to have beyond beer of any type in there that's allowable within your state, do it. And if it's not allowable in your state, ask your guild to figure out why, because we had a big thing put on by the Brewers Association for beyond beer, and they had a presentation they put up there, and I'm from Michigan, so Michigan was literally black on all the slides because we have the most breweries participating in other things outside of beer for every category they talked about. We were black for like all 5 categories, meaning that more than 75% of the breweries partake in cider. 75% or more have distilled spirits. 75% or more have wine, hard seltzers, every Beyond Beer option, and then a lot of them now even are getting into NA beer. So that's another one. Do anything you can do with Beyond Beer, and I think you're going to be a lot better off. You're going to have a lot better competition with the local bars, local bar scene, local restaurant scene. So anything you can do within your state, if you've got one of those setups, and then like I said, ask them why not, because states are doing it. You just got to word it appropriately and get your guild to fight for you to add those things if it's not currently possible.
Tyler, talking about Beyond Beer, is there a specific Beyond Beer beverage type that's doing more business for you?
For us, the cider always does really well. Cider and wines are big. We're the only brewery in our entire area right now along the west coast of Michigan that doesn't have spirits approved yet. So I've got to get into spirits yet, just to be competitive with the other 4 breweries that are here in the area. They have all the options currently, so they have all the overlapping manufacturing licenses they can have for Michigan.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
Have spirits.
And I guess the moral of the story is when you have all these products, everybody in the party is going to be happier and hang out longer.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. For everyone else, what are you doing to keep your guests hanging out longer, but that's working? Or maybe not working?
One thing is, so we have tourists driven here in Kauai. So we have, when our lows are low, they're super low. So how do we capture local business? Because locals don't necessarily want to go hang out at a tourist destination. That's just not their idea of a good time. So how do you find a good balance? And one way is by having loyalty programs. One thing here is that you can have Kama'aina, which means locals with an ID get a discount, or if they're regulars, them. That's like having cheaper beer options that nobody else can touch the prices on. If you produce your own beer, if you lower the price just a little bit for locals and make it more affordable to them than anywhere else, that's a huge deal for us. And then just also having an atmosphere that nobody else has. So we have fire pits and lounge furniture outside. There isn't even a restaurant in the area that has this kind of setup. And that makes people want to come here, have their events, their parties. That's a huge thing. And then, the other big thing that we do different that I've never done anywhere else is I don't brew for me here so much. I brew for locals who want green bottle beers. That's their jam. They love them. And so having some of those adjunct lagers that are familiar, so they come here, they can get something that they know and like that is actually cheaper if they go to a regular bar. So they like that. And then for just having a variety of beers. So we have right now, it's Australians, people from California, the Midwest. There was a guy here yesterday from New Glarus Brewing. And you have this huge variety of people, and they all don't like the same kind of IPA. So one thing that I've realized has been super successful for us is when it comes to style guidelines, especially for IPAs, pale ales, is going on the bottom level of IBUs. Make the beers more approachable to more people. And now all of a sudden I have people who hate IPAs drinking IPAs because it's not as bitter as the brewery in their town. And just trying to be more appealing to as many people as possible has helped people come back.
Awesome. Thank you, Ben.
Yeah, I was just to add on that, we started with 15 taps and now we have 20 something because sort of our mantra is we want anyone to come into our space and have it be warm and welcoming and comfortable. And part of that is having a beer that people will like, and everyone's palate is different. So we've done we always have beers by clean and crisp, malty and sweet, sour. We've categorized them and we always make sure we have multiple in every category, because people appreciate that. We get so many feedback of oh, I've gone to brewery X and all they have is IPAs, or I've gone here and all they have are lagers or whatever. So just having a wide variety of beer has been great for us. But also what Tyler said, about 7% of our sales are liquor, right? Almost 3% wine and cider, which is a lot of money, right? So having that diversity has definitely kept people coming back. And then about the private events, I know we talked about them a lot, but I think the really thing that's interesting about a private event, if someone has a milestone birthday here or a retirement party, it brings other people into our space that then are like, wow, this is amazing. And those people come back. Or if someone's had a special moment, like an anniversary celebration or whatever at your place, and they just feel so much more aligned and grateful and supportive of your brand. And so those become like super fans, right? So I think having those events is something that's almost like a little snowball. Like once you get it going, it can pick up a lot of momentum and bring more and more people back.
No, I love that. Now, Nicole, you talked about ways to get people coming back, which I love. Now, Mike, another goal is to get more beer out the door for customers who are there. What have you learned, about getting the to-go program successful?
Yeah, it's been huge for us, and it's still relatively new. We did the whole crowler kind of option. I had, I was a little reluctant on a lot of that product going out the door. Only because you just don't know how long that person's going to be sitting on that can, or if they give it to a buddy and then they sit on it for a few weeks, and you just don't know on that quality control once it leaves. If it's been canned up, they're off of our tap system. So about 2 months ago, we purchased a little single head filler. And being able to correctly can beer and actually have a to-go beer fridge at both locations, and working with our staff has been huge. We even did some sales campaigns with our staff, and something that we'll probably learn from CBP is hey, just work with your staff to make those cross-sell opportunities at closing out. And it's just an easy ask if, hey, do you want a to-go beer today, or hey, I see you liked that hazy IPA, do you want to take a 4-pack to go? So we did a sales campaign with our team, it added a little incentive out there for them. And yeah, it's really taken off. We've seen a huge, per ticket increase. In addition to, we're still finding that customers are tipping, that 18 to 22%-ish range across the entire tab. So that's been a huge benefit for our staff, and as well as just increasing revenue out of our tap rooms.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Mike. Now, we've talked about a lot of different things that can help you see greater success. I want to dive a little bit deeper into your thought processes before trying these, new ideas at your brewery. So say, you have an idea, Nicole, to do something. Like, what are the 3 questions you're asking yourself, or what is your process like to make sure it's something worth trying at Throwback? And each of you, I'd kind of love to hear your thought processes too when trying something new.
Yeah, I mean, we always like to try something new, right? We are huge on like trying things, failing fast, and iterating. And obviously, like the bigger decisions, like do we build an event space and spend like a tremendous amount of money? That's a different way of evaluating that. Like for that decision, we've had to turn down so many events like every year, and at some point, you're just like the math made sense there, but also just knowing our customer base and being able to support more people, that was like almost like a no-brainer decision. But just like the smaller things, if it fits with our values, if it fits with who we are, and it's not that expensive to like give it a go, we're always willing to try something. And if it doesn't work, it's like, all right, it doesn't work. Sometimes we knock it out of the park, or sometimes it's just pretty good, and we know we can iterate really quickly and make it better. So. But for us, we do a lot of things data driven, but also based upon like, does this really fit and feel authentic with who we are?
Like speaking specifically for, say, like an event open to the public, I'll just say a trivia event just to keep it really generic.
Yeah.
How many times will you try an event, and what metrics are you looking at to judge how successful it is?
So, yeah, I mean, we've actually tried trivia, and we tried it. We did 4 different trivia events until we realized this isn't for us. There's too many trivia events all around. We want it to fill at least, if there's not like 30 to 50 people that show up, then it's just for us. It's not where that's sort of the number that we're looking for to like kind of fill up our smaller room. And so, but then we've tried things like I started doing music bingo. And then just for us, if we send out an email or post something on social media and it doesn't see a big spike in people getting the tickets right away, then we know that the idea isn't one that's like spot on, right? So we tend to look at the number of seats, and we know how many people, like the average spend per head and stuff like that. So it tends to be around a minimum of 30 people.
Thank you. Now, for everyone else, what's your thought process like when deciding to try something new? Who wants to tackle it?
Like I can, we do a lot. I mean, I was an engineer for 30 years, so cost analysis was right up my alley. But so I still sort of approach it the same way. It's just that I'm justifying it now, not on millions of dollars, but on, my own personal thousands of dollars. So I have to, spend my own money now on it instead of someone else's. So basically I just will, same approach as anything for cost analysis. We go through the costs. We get an estimate either that we know to be safe or sound in the area, or we'll call friends, for other friends' breweries. People are way more than willing in the brewery world to share how they're doing. And we've got enough friends that are similar sizes that we can pull data from them and then try and justify what we're going to do. And sort of Nicole's point is basically if it's something that's not too expensive to try, just try it, pull the Band-Aid off and just do it. And then correct along the way. We try different days with things. If something didn't take on a certain day and we need something to fill a Wednesday, we'll try it over on Wednesday for, usually we give everything about a month, and then sometimes we'll bring it back at a different point of year where we think it might work. You mentioned trivia. We do trivia for 3 months out of the whole year, and it's insanely packed. If we do it any of the rest of the year, we're losing money on. So we do. We start at June and we stop around the first week of September, and we have trivia, and there's 65 people in here and 14 teams of trivia players, and but the rest of the year, the other places around us pick their trivia back up from the summer from their tourism where they turned it off, and then we can't be successful with it anymore, and then we're paying the trivia service, money that we didn't make. So it's so try it on different days. There's a lot of karaoke in this area again, and I thought it was funny it took off again, but it's there's karaoke in this area, and we've got they're going to try a new karaoke form with like auto tune and stuff, which I think is funny. They're going to try auto tune here on a Thursday night now, and Thursdays are traditionally decent for us, but a little more wouldn't hurt as long as it offsets the cost of the service. So we look at all of it and try to analyze it a little bit.
Awesome. Thank you. And Ben?
We tried different food events. So we did a ticketed fine dining. Our chef has got a really awesome culinary background. And he made an incredible meal that the people who came loved it. But a majority of the people in the area, they weren't into paying $150 for a ticketed food event. But so didn't really keep doing that. But we looked for other opportunities to do a more available food events. Like we do quesadilla once a month, and we bring in a really awesome musician, and he's outside cooking the quesadilla out in our beer garden, and that is one of our absolute busiest days when we do that. So doing other events like that, maybe it's a whole pig roast, something that no one else is doing that is interesting for customers to come in and want to give it a shot. That has been really successful for us. We even tried doing breakfast here because we're 6 hours time change different from you guys on the East Coast. So on Sundays for football, we thought we'd try opening up, and people here who are on vacation here or live here, they're not looking to leave their house or hotel room at 6 a.m. to come watch football at a brewery. They'd rather just stay home and chill in their pajamas. So we tried it, didn't work, but look for the next thing.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Mike, you got anything to add about your processes when trying something new?
Yeah, not a lot to add other than the items that have been mentioned. We do, especially at the new spot, it's all still so new. We were doing live music on Fridays, but we found, really when we pulled music out of Fridays, still the place was packed. So we didn't necessarily need music on Fridays to draw people in. So we actually transitioned that to Wednesdays. Mostly we chose Wednesday because Tuesday we do trivia and Thursday we do bingo at our other location. So we didn't want too many options on a single day. Moving that to Wednesday was, really successful. It packed out the house. We saw a big revenue increase on those days. So, for individual smaller events, we don't shy away from trying something new. I always tell our staff, hey, I'll try anything at least once. We'll evaluate and see how it goes. On a larger scale, we are looking for another tap room location. So there's obviously a lot more metrics and analyzing that we're doing for that, which we're actively in right now.
Awesome. So everybody, you're trying lots of new things. Some work, some don't work. It takes its toll because you're constantly thinking, you're constantly activating these new ideas. So sometimes long hours, low margins, and a lot of stress, honestly. So how do you keep your love for the industry so strong while you're dealing with all these, changes in the business?
I mean, I'll say two things. One's more of a personal thing. I think when we first started, I didn't really do anything for myself, right? And I think it's easy to sort of get in the trap of like, all right, I'm waking up, I'm going to work, and I'm working a long day, and I'm coming home. And I think this sounds weird. I started powerlifting like right before COVID, and it's the one thing I do for myself that I just don't think about work, and it's like great for mental health. And I think doing something that you're passionate about outside of work is hugely important, because then that makes me a better leader here. And I think the other thing is sometimes if it's like a tough day, like just take a step back and like just look at your full like beer garden or room, and like the family's having fun, people that are enjoying themselves, like laughing. And I think realize like we're doing this for the community, and the fact that we're making so many people happy keeps me motivated to keep doing this.
I like it.
Philanthropy, I mean, is huge. I think that recharges us here quite a bit. My wife has sort of named herself in charge of that, and I have to occasionally throttle the budget for her, because if not, we would be out of business pretty quickly. And so I often have to tell her, I'm like, you understand, I said, if the cash cow isn't fat, then nobody's getting any milk at all. So I'm like, we have to make sure that we're making money before we give it all away. But we do a lot of that as well, and having an avenue for that makes us feel great, and that sort of recharges us, keeps us going. I found too, just in general, is trying to turn it into more of a scheduled work for me helps, because if it's just hey, I have the potential to be here 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, that's going to burn you out. And we know there's a lot of people in this industry, especially the owners and or the brewers, or people that are really dedicated into their brewery. There's a lot of burnout in this industry, and you got to be really careful, because it's really bad. So try and make it scheduled. Don't be there when you don't have to be there. If you can, maybe get out and take some time, like Nicole said, and smell the flowers a little bit, or enjoy the fruits of your labor a little bit, where you get a chance just to see people and spend that 15 or 20% of your time playing an owner role, where people appreciate seeing you out there, and when you are there, but yet you're not really super involved or working, and enjoy it a little bit. I know I enjoy it. I worked in an office for 30 plus years in a manufacturing facility, and so I know just being our own owner, that's why we're still in it today. Being your own boss, there's something to be said about that, and the granted, it takes more time, but also you can create your own free time.
Thanks, Tyler.
One thing that just keeps me motivated is talking to customers and engaging with them like in a meaningful way, like really get to know them, know their names. When you see them out in public, you talk to them. They give you feedback on your beer or on my beer, and like I love it, because you put faces to the people who enjoy it. It makes it a little bit more enjoyable and fun to make the beer. And then just as the brewer, trying to never settle on a recipe. Just keep trying to make it better. Even small tweaks with the water chemistry or hops, vintages of hops, just trying new stuff. It's a challenge, and having that challenge to keep trying to make the best beer possible is one of the big things that keeps me going.
Awesome. Thank you, Ben. And Mike, I mean, you're a busy person, 2 tap rooms, idea of a third. How do you take time for yourself?
Yeah, I'd probably circle back to, just what I learned in, the corporate world of brewery financing, and something that's been mentioned today and kind of continually within CBP. It really comes down to 2 main goals when starting this. Is one, I want nothing to do with distribution. 2, I want nothing to do with food. So eliminating those 2 stress factors from what we do day in and day out has been, huge. I think Tyler mentioned it, but still, even without those 2, burnout can be real, especially when opening up a new spot. Putting in 60 to 80 hours a week was the norm there for a while. Right now, it has been just getting the right people in the right spots. We've been doing some either hiring or advancing people within our company. And, that frees up my time operationally in the day-to-day, allows me to really focus on the larger scale events. That's really moving the needle for our brewery. And honestly, I think Tyler mentioned as well, but it's like, hey, I am game to be here as early as I need to be at 5 a.m. or whatever it needs to be. But at 4 o'clock when my kids got out of school, I want to be present. And so that's been really big for me, and just trying to find that balance, and really just keeping that balance between family and work life.
Awesome. Thank you all for sharing that. So you all are busy. You own breweries. You're trying to make moves. Looking ahead, what's the next big decision you're preparing for? And what from your past is going to help you shape your approach to it? Does anyone want to tackle that one?
I can real quick. I was writing some notes down here, but based on Nicole and Ben from earlier, and then also Mike. Mike's headed the same direction that we're headed in right now. I mean, I was already there on a lot of it. We're basically head down the same path as what he's doing there. We just put in for we want to start doing in-house cans, not necessarily for distribution or some very limited distribution, but just in local specialty stores, but mostly within the tap rooms. So it's easy to push it to go, a 4-pack or a mixed 4-pack or something to go and get that additional revenue. The goal there being is that I want that additional revenue to replace me in the brew house. After 5 years, I'm getting burnt out of being the brewer and the owner and trying to do a little bit of everything. And we can't grow or expand if I don't have the bandwidth to do it. So I need to get myself out of the brew house, still maybe keep some creative control, of course, because I don't want things too drastically, because we've got a pretty good reputation for our beer. So I don't want to change too much, but I need to get my head out of that, free up myself to be able to expand. We're looking at a north end or a south location from us. And within just enough distance, I hope that, unlike Mike, I hope that we don't impact ourselves, but it'll be just far enough away in another city that will be still serviceable by us, but not hopefully impact ourselves with it. And then, like I said, the can revenue. One other thing really quickly I wanted to mention earlier for a good thing, loyalty mug club program, got to have it. I mean, it's anything you can do for a loyalty or reward program for your people locally will help keep you busy throughout the winter, and it will make you a premier option for people to come in. So make sure you have those things if you can do it at all in your area.
Thanks, Tyler.
One thing we're looking at is we have interest all around the state to get our beer on the other islands. And so we're looking at, trying to find a contract brew partner to help us fulfill that without adding necessarily the stress that of me having to figure out how to package all that stuff in a tiny brewery.
And Mike, I mean, you're talking about adding another location. So what are you going to do differently looking for this third one that you didn't do last time?
Yeah, going from our old location to our new one, we took, and I didn't mention this, but our old location, we do kind of a take and bake pizza with a local pizza store that's wildly popular. So that's gone over well. New location, we have built out a prep kitchen and we have a permanent spot for our food partner who's a trailer. I think with that next location on that third is going to be a full service kitchen within the tap room. And kind of continuing with what we currently provide is more of an elevated brewery experience. It seems like the majority of the breweries in our surrounding area are kind of that light industrial style brewery. So continuing with that elevated experience, but more with, on the food side, just having more in-house ability. And yeah, just continuing to service. I don't know if we talk too much about that, but we really hone in on the service. And one thing I always tell my staff, I never want to hear them say, "Hey, what can I get you?" It always should be, "Hey, what did you have last time? What style of beer do you drink?" And just being more of that beer advisor that you often talk about, Andrew. But it's just we can't be complacent and just serve beer anymore. We've got to provide a full experience.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Mike. Well, everybody, this has been a fun hour. I appreciate you for sharing your experiences and insights. So thanks everybody for tuning in. And Mike, Tyler, Nicole, and Ben, this has been fun. I look forward to sharing pints eventually with you all. So I'll see you soon. Cheers, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Yes.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this session, we'd love to see you in real life. We host in-person workshops across the country for craft beer professionals just like you that are held in some of the most exciting beer destinations around. These immersive events are designed to help you grow and connect with others. You'll meet peers from across the country and leave with actionable strategies for success. Connection has never been more important, and you can learn more at cbpconnects.com. Cheers. See you there.